Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. We're so grateful that you could join us today for another video. And now that it is midwinter and we are thinking about how to stay warm and how to have light in case of the grid going down for any kind of extended period of time, we're going to be starting our videos that are dealing with those subjects. This first video is all about safety issues surrounding any kind of candles, and particularly Crisco candles, if we are going to use them along with other materials to create heat and light in our homes. This is all about self-reliance and emergency preparedness. So we need to be prepared, and before we get too far into this, all we're going to do with this video is focus on some very important safety issues. So we will get started on that in just a moment. I've been out on the internet looking at a whole lot of things and doing other research on emergency candles. So I want to just go through a couple of things. First of all, there's a lot of uses of these little tea lights. Now the reason that there is no more wax in here is because I wanted to know today how long one of these lasts. And so I lit it this morning and it went exactly 3.5 hours. Now this is an open flame. There is nothing that covers it. It's in this little flimsy metal container that could possibly leak. I have actually had them leak. This one looks to be all one piece, so it's less likely that that one would leak. And so there's this. And then I've had this one out on our emergency preparedness shelf for a long time, several years in fact, and I lit it for the first time this morning. This is a 100-hour emergency candle. So, okay, if I'm in an emergency, maybe the lights went out and it's night, and I have no furnace, I have no lights, my refrigerator's down, my freezer's down, my stove is down, everything is down, and maybe it's going to last for hours and hours, I don't know. So I hurry and light my emergency candle. What is this going to do for me? I'm in an emergency, I have an emergency candle, I lit it, big whoop. Maybe it would be enough to heat up some water, but I couldn't put it right down on the flame. I'd have to find a little rack to put it up a little ways. It certainly isn't going to keep me warm. Maybe I could warm my hands a little bit. So I guess if you don't have anything else, an emergency candle like this might serve some purpose. I have been trying to figure out what the liquid is. I first thought it might be alcohol, but then with more reading articles, I found that a lot of these are made using liquid paraffin, is what it's called. This one today sells for $11.99. I've seen them for as much as $15 a piece for this emergency candle. Now, fortunately, it has a little lid. The lid is plastic, the container is plastic, but all surrounding the flame is metal. Still, that scares me just a little bit. But I can blow it out and then I can put this cap back on it. Another thing that I saw on the internet was, think about everything in your house that is flammable, that you can turn into an emergency candle. Well, butter is flammable. And I saw one person cut a cube of butter in half, stick a toothpick in it, light the toothpick, and call that an emergency candle. This scares me spitless. People get carried away with the novelty of what they are doing without thinking about the safety issues. This butter is contained in a paper wrapper. As this wick melts the butter, it would ooze out and fall and make a big mess. Ultimately, there would be the possibility of a flash fire, a grease fire. So this is absolutely, in my opinion, ridiculous. Then there are about a zillion and two different ways that I have seen on various places on the internet, YouTube and elsewhere, about making Crisco candles. And everybody is so hyped up about it. Once in a while they will talk about safety issues, but sometimes they don't. So now we get to the making of Crisco candles. Yes, Crisco burns. So why would we want candles in the first place? Heat and light and ambience. I would venture to guess that most of us use candles in our home today for the ambience, not for light to read by or function by, not to heat our homes. Now, there are ways that we can use these Crisco candles using other materials that will augment their heating and lighting ability. And we're going to talk about those things in future videos. Today, I want to talk about the safe way to make a Crisco candle. So let's look down here. A while back, Jim bought me this flat of, these are 8-ounce jars, and they're the little fat squatty kind used for jelly. I've used them for jams and jellies, and they just work just fine. But they happen to be also ideal for making candles. So I want to talk about the container to put an open fire candle in. One of the things that you want to think about is you want the container so that it does not burn. So no cardboard, no plastic, no paper. It should be either glass or metal. If you are going to be using the candle, hoping that it will help with lighting up the place, as a candle burns down in a metal can, that flame is only visible from the top of the can. With a glass jar, the flame would be visible as it burns all the way down. So what size of a jar should you use? What shape should you use? Well, thinking about the center of gravity, you can buy or have maybe long, tall glassware that's like this. All right, so I want to show you what I mean by the center of gravity. So the center of gravity on this is probably about right here. And I can just barely touch that, and over it is going to go because the center of gravity is so high. It's the same principle when you go four-wheeling. You want a vehicle with a low center of gravity, otherwise it is very prone to tipping when you go up over those sand dunes. As long as the center of gravity is low, gravity is going to hold you in place, but if it's high, you're going to roll. Same thing with these. Now this is a commercial candle. This one is about $10 or $12, and this shape is just about right for what we should be looking for in terms of making our own candles. It's also a really good idea for it to have a lid. Now, one of the things that happens with a lot of candles is tunneling, where the flame burns a core in the middle of the wax. This one isn't so bad, but you see that wax residue all around the side of the jar. So I decided that I would use this size of a jar for my Crisco candles. The center of gravity on these is very low. It's very tough to tip this over. You have to pretty much try to tip it over. So these are not tippy, and that's what you need. You need something that is almost straight up and down, that has a very broad base. I saw so many things on the internet that just made me cringe in terms of safety. There is a story from my childhood that has impacted how I think about candles. When I was 7 or 8 years old, we would visit my grandparents every summer, and my grandmother was an invalid. She was in bed, bedridden constantly in a twin-size bed. Right beside her bed was a night table, and she always had a candle. Grandmother told stories about her growing up years, and I loved those stories. And so I would go in and stand by her bed and ask, "Grandmother, please tell me a story about when you were my size." And she would tell me stories. And I would lean in and put my head against her quilt. And one of those times that I leaned in, my hair was very long. She called me Goldilocks because of my long red hair. And I leaned in, and my hair fell forward, and part of it fell off to the side and was set on fire by that candle. And I, of course, remember that like it was yesterday, because that flame caught the bottom of my curls and went right up. And I wasn't a bit afraid as I was startled. And immediately grandmother threw back her quilt and put the quilt over my head and shut off the air, the oxygen for the flames, and put the fire out immediately. And of course I had to have my hair cut. But that experience has left me extra mindful of how quickly things can happen with candles. And so we just need to be mindful of safety issues constantly whenever we work with open flames. And so using the right size and shape of a jar, whether it is like this or like this, fat and squatty, frankly, I would not make a Crisco candle larger than this size of a quart jar. I don't see an advantage for making them bigger. Some people say that, oh, they last for 30 days. A tub of shortening, 3-pound tub of shortening will last 30 days. All you have to do is punch a couple of candles, the big tapers that are about this deep, and put 2 of them down in to act as wicks, and that will go for 30 days. Well, why would you want it to go 30 days? You could do something like this, which would be safer. Never shove a candle down in a tub of shortening. This is plastic. Crisco, actual Crisco, this is a knockoff, is cardboard that is lined with foil on the inside. So I always take the Crisco out to make my candle. All right, now I have made 4 candles for us to look at. This one has been going 4 days, and it has a single wick. I'm going to show you the wicks in just a minute. This one has been going for 3 days. Now by 3 days, I don't run candles overnight. You need to be attentive of live flames at all times, open flames at all times. And so when we go to bed at night, the candles always go out. This one has been going 3 days, from about 7 a.m. until about 10 or 11 p.m. And you can see that there is some tunneling on this one, not a lot. But the fact that this is shortening makes it very easy to just reuse and start another candle. This one, the wick kept burning out. You can see that little second wick right there. So this morning I put a new wick down in. Now in a little while it will burn down enough to catch that one, so it will be a double wick. This one has been going for 2 days. This is a 3-wick candle. This is too much wick. It is burning clean. The sides are clean, so there's no tunneling, but it is also going through the fuel really fast. And so this one has been going for 2 days. This is a double wick, and it also is not tunneling at all. It's burning edge to edge, and it is a slower burn. But the flame from the 2 is not that much different from in fact, if you look closely down in this one, you see the 3rd wick has been pulled out because I guess it didn't reach all the way to the bottom. And so right now this is only burning as a 2-wick. So how do you make a Crisco candle efficiently and without getting everything in your kitchen dirty? There are a lot of different ways that are shown on the internet, and I don't like most of them. You know me. So here is how as I've thought about this and done research, the way that I prefer to do them is I don't get a secondary measuring cup or anything else dirty by melting a lot of it, or a pan. By melting the shortening in a pan, I put it in the container where it's going to end up. Now when you do this with shortening, any of us that had 7th grade home ec know that when you put shortening into a container like this is not the way to measure it. We're not measuring at all. But the reason is because it forms air bubbles. Now you can tamp it to try to get rid of it, or you can mash them down to try to get rid of them. But there's no way that you are going to be assured that all of those air bubbles are out. And so I just keep putting shortening in until I think I have about the equivalent of, if it's melted, it's coming up to about this rim right here. And so this is pretty much about right. So I'm just going to stick this in my microwave and I'm going to set the microwave for 2 minutes. These melt between 1:45 and 2 minutes. And then once they're melted, you can just set it out on the countertop for it and it will congeal again. Or you can put it in your refrigerator or your freezer. And so what if you have to plan ahead a little bit? This is a very efficient way to do it because you're just in a single container. So I'm going to stick this in the microwave. Here's one that I did this morning. Notice how full it is. It's very clean, air bubbles are all gone. It's solid all the way down, so the wick is not going to run into an air pocket. So what do I use for a wick? And there are all kinds of things that you can use as a wick. How fast the fuel is used up is going to be dependent upon the size of the wick. So I did some research. I don't want to mess with the string wicks and a pencil and rolling it up. I want to poke a candle down in there that already has a wick. But I don't want a soft wax candle, I want a hard wax candle. This is beeswax. I got 50 of these. And these candles are about 35 cents a piece. And one of these candles will make 3 wicks the size for this jar. So I have a little ruler on the back side of this and I'm just going to cut this right now. There and there. And then with my scissors I'm just going to cut where those marks are, so cutting directly through the wick. And then with another knife, I'm just going to twirl it around right here and pull it off and expose the wick right there. So I am now ready for these two to go down into this candle. And all I have to do is find about the very center, and down they go. All right, now this one went down farther than this one did. So when I light it, I will light this one. It will burn down and catch the other one on fire. I've done that before. It works great. And now what I can do is close this up with a lid, put it back in my cardboard box, and I'm going to have a whole case of these emergency candles. Let's get the one out of the microwave. So it's all liquid. It will come out of the microwave with all of these bubbles, and notice that the bubbles are popping very rapidly. So I wait until all of the bubbles have popped, and then I just pop it right in my freezer, and it's ready in about 20 minutes. And I can then put the wicks in. So this is the safe way, in my opinion, to make Crisco candles. Having a good sturdy broad base jar. One of the scariest ones I saw was a candle. The glass part looked like this and it bulged out a little bit, and then it came underneath, and then there was that much of a stem, and then there was a little foot on it that was about this size. And the center of gravity on that was such that it would have just knocked over and broken, and oil would have gone everywhere, melted shortening would have gone everywhere, flash fire, and there we have it. So just remember, when we think about emergency candles, are they going to save our lives? I don't know. But the ambiance would be nice. Having a little bit of light in a very dark house would be good. Having a set of 12 of these that you could put in various places would certainly help things. If you have young children, be very, very cautious where you put those candles. Make sure that they are out of reach of children. And think constantly about safety, safety, safety. Don't run candles after you go to bed at night. Don't run the candles if you're leaving the house. I have a son-in-law who is a firefighter, and one of our viewers' husbands is a firefighter, and she posted something on one of our previous videos saying It is the season for open flame house fires, and people burn down their homes every single winter because they don't know how to take care of candles. So don't create a second emergency for yourself using these emergency candles. As we go forward talking more about using candles for heat and for light, I'm going to do it in the safest way possible, and we'll be using other materials that will help safeguard it, and we will augment the heat and the light that is generated by these little squatty candles. So be safe, and if you do these Crisco candles, have fun, but talk to your family and your children about safety rules with open flames in your home. So thanks for being with us, and I'll see you soon.